or the beginning of the 30s. Yeah. But what I want to say then, parting from that, is that there is a big difference this time. In 1930, when the big crisis in the United States take the whole world, the whole capitalist world into a serious crisis, we in Latin America suffer a lot of that. And people coined a saying that when the United States suffer a cough, Latin Americans suffer pneumonia. Because the effect of the crisis in the underdeveloped, in the poor countries was quite bigger than that. I remember my grandfather telling me how in the 30s, when that whole thing came, and our main product at that time, that was coffee export, fell completely down because the market were not accepting it, then many of the landowners, what they did was to start to raise the coffee plantation. Because you know that if you don't pick up the coffee, the next year, the cropping is going to be very, very bad, and the following year even worse. And they decided better to get rid of the coffee plantations because they couldn't pay for the workers to do the picking of coffee, right? But that was in the 30s. Now, the characteristic of the crisis is that the underdeveloped countries, or the emerging economy as it's now has been showing a very big capacity to resist the crisis. In fact, it is absolutely clear that the world economy at this moment is not sunken completely, thanks to the emerging economies, because they are not suffering as they used to suffer when the developed country was in crisis, but on the contrary, some of them have been managing very important rate of growth and so on, right? They have been upsetting the global effect of the crisis. This is a new feature of the world economy that is telling us very clearly that there is a new actor in the international scenario. And some economies are moving from just suffering the effect of what the developed countries are doing and having their own space. I am not saying that there have been no effect on the underdeveloped or the emerging economy. Of course that we have been suffering, but not in the way that in the past happened to us whenever the developed capitalist economies went into problem. But not only that, the prospect for the next decades, although for the developed economies are very uncertain, and nobody knows where it's going to be in 10 years, the US, the Euro economy and so on, but some prediction about the emerging economy are very clear now. It is expected, for instance, just to give you a data, that in the next 10 years, in the next decade, more than 50% of the gross product at market price is going to be generated by the emerging economies, no longer by the developed economies. I mean, they are going to start to move into. Right now, if you see where most of the things that we use at home are produced, are no longer in Europe, are no longer manufactured in the United States. They are manufactured in countries like India, China, of course, subsets of Asia, and some countries of Latin America, right? That means, in that sense, it's a big change in the world. But it seems to me, and now I want to go into the subject of this conference, that this change is posing to us two fundamental questions to answer, and I will try to talk a little bit about them. The first question, this growth, incredible growth shown by India, China, and many other countries in the emerging camp, is sustainable? It's a very valid question. Because, for instance, in the experience of us in Latin America, in the past, we have seen periods in which our economy goes growing 9, 10, 12%